Hello everyone, my name is Jimmy and welcome to the last lap. In today's video we're going to be discussing the NASCAR All-Star Race, everything that happened throughout that race including the Open as well. We're going to discuss it, break it down for you guys. There was a lot of stuff that happened and we're going to talk about it for you guys. But before we hop into it, just want to remind you guys to hit that like button and subscribe button. That would help us out and we would greatly appreciate it if you did so. But without further ado, let's go ahead and hop straight into it. As always, I have my friend and co-host Matthew joining me on the show, and man, what a crazy, weekend it was for the All-Star racers. That new qualifying format, the Open, the All-Star race, all that stuff going on. So, Matthew, go ahead and tell me how you're feeling post All-Star race.
Well, as you're curious, I'm writing something down over here, and I'm just writing down a plan to demolish the racetrack that somehow holds an all-star race, and somehow we have to deal with a 500-mile race this year. And I'm also writing down all the good tire brands that NASCAR needs to be doing interviews with the next half, basically the whole second half of the semester. The season, so we don't have to deal with Goodyear anymore. So, yeah, that's all I'm gonna say. And yeah, let's just get this started.
Yeah, I was gonna say you had me a little confused. I was like, why aren't you gonna write some suggestions for NASCAR about the tires? But you got there. So at least you had that part written down. That's my major concern about everything that happened this week. But let's go ahead and hop straight into the race recap. So, actually, before that, I'm gonna talk about the Open. I'm trying to remember who even won the Open. Stenhouse won a stage, Suarez won a stage, and Buescher won a stage. Yeah, those three guys won a stage and advanced. And Eric Jones was actually the fan vote winner. Tyler Reddick crashed out in the Open, so I'm not sure if he had more fan votes than Eric Jones, but if he did, then he wouldn't have been in contention. So I'm not sure who had more votes, but Eric Jones ended up being the fan vote winner, so he advanced. So very cool to see that 43 car get voted into the All-Star race. Now we'll hop into the actual main event. So the whole format was if you won a stage 1, 2, or 3, that you would start first, second, and third in the final stage. So just keep that in mind. So stage 1 would go to Kyle Busch. He started on the pole, jumped out to the lead, and he won stage 1. It was pretty simple. Stage 2, this is when, the notebook, we started writing in the notebook, So Kyle Larson, he unfortunately blew a tire and hit the wall in stage 2. That took him out of the race. And then, I don't know if this is like the main point of the race or the finish of the, both of these things are very big events that happen in this race. So Kyle Busch, he unfortunately had an issue in stage 2. He cut a right rear tire coming down the front stretch. He tried to move to the bottom to get out of the way. Ross Chastain and I believe Ryan Blaney were battling side by side, and Ross Chastain's spotter was he was worried about the 12 car and didn't see Kyle Busch slow, and Ross Chastain he hit Kyle Busch so hard. I mean, he used Kyle Busch's car as a ramp. He just hit it and jumped over it and then landed on all four wheels, thank goodness. And then he kept going up the track and unfortunately collected Chase Elliott as well. Chase Elliott in his interview, Chase Elliott is okay. I know you don't like Chase's fan base and all that stuff, but you have to admit, Chase is probably one of the most humble drivers out there, because he was saying that he didn't give he was blaming himself for the incident when he literally he had nowhere to go. It was just a matter of circumstances, and he was saying that he could have done a better job. So I'm just going to throw that out there. But yes, unfortunately, Chase Elliott was involved as well. All three drivers had really hard hits. Very glad that all those drivers were okay. Checked and released from the infield care center. But yeah, that was a very big and scary accident. Stage 2 would actually go to Austin Cindric. He took the lead over from Kyle Busch after that happened. And then after stage 2, they did that pit stop competition, which was the fastest pit stop, but also the fastest a driver got down pit road, the total time on pit road from the time the driver entered pit road, did their pit stop, and left pit road. Joey Logano's crew ended up doing that. He didn't come out first. He came out probably 4th or 5th, but he still had the fastest overall time. So that allowed him to start, I believe, 3rd in the final stage. And then in stage 3, Ryan Blaney ended up winning stage 3, but another tire issue. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., he had a problem. Christopher Bell, he got loose and hit the wall as well. No tire issue there. He just got loose. But Ryan Blaney would win stage number 3, which would set up the final stage. And Penske finished they started 1st, 2nd, and 3rd in the final stage. And they played it very smart because after that Christopher Bell spin, Ryan Blaney stayed out, and then Cindric and Logano also stayed out. They did that so they could hold everybody else up so Ryan Blaney could take off and win the stage, so all 3 of them could start 1, 2, 3. So, I don't necessarily care for the Penske drivers, but I have to admit that was a very smart move on their part to get all 3 of those drivers starting 1, 2, 3 in that final stage. And then in the 3rd stage, the first 20, 25 laps were smooth, no caution, anything like that. And then, so NASCAR, if there wasn't a caution by a certain lap, NASCAR was going to throw a competition caution kind of thing and rack the field up. But that was not necessary because Eric Jones ended up spinning, so there was no need to throw a random caution. That brought out that caution during that specific lap frame. So that happened, and then there was a restart with 21 laps to go. Ryan Blaney, Austin Cindric, and Joey Logano were still 1, 2, 3 at this point. And they restarted, they got going. Ryan Blaney checks out from the rest of the field. Denny Hamlin actually made a pretty impressive charge. He was making his way through the field, got up to 2nd, I believe, before what's about to happen here. And Ricky Stenhouse Jr. got into the wall off of turn 2 as Ryan Blaney is probably 200 yards from taking the checkered flag.
Yeah, about that.
So, just to clarify, so everybody knows, the All-Star race, they made a rule for this year that it has to finish under green flag conditions. So, if this is a points-paying race, Ryan Blaney would have won it if the caution came out when it did. But since it's the All-Star race, they made it so it has to finish under green flag. And this dude was literally, the dog leg, there's 2 dog legs. He was literally on the same, straightaway as the finish line. And NASCAR's like, nah, we're going to throw the caution.
I mean, it's Texas, Motor Speedway. They got to do something to make this race something.
So, Ryan Blaney, he thought he won the race, so he takes his window net down to start celebrating. But everybody's like, hold up, the caution came. When did the caution come out? And of course, they looked at the replay, it came out, and he was so close to taking the checkered flag. There was an interview with, I forgot who it was, one of the NASCAR, one of the top dogs in NASCAR, and he admitted that they probably prematurely threw that caution. They said that the guy that hits the button, he just looked up and saw a car in the wall, and he just hit the button. So I don't think he saw where the leader was. I think he just looked up and saw that there was a car on the wall and said bam and hit the caution. So anyways, that's only the beginning of this controversy because Ryan Blaney could not fix his window net because he took it down, and it usually takes a pit crew member to get it tight actually in the hole and whatever else they have to do with that window net. So Ryan Blaney is in the car under caution trying to MacGyver this window net into it and try to fix it, and he's driving and doing all this crazy stuff, and it was chaotic, but he eventually kind of got the window net fixed to an extent. I guess NASCAR was okay with it, and then ended up doing a green-white checker, Ryan Blaney versus Denny Hamlin on the front row, and Ryan Blaney ended up winning for real. He actually ended up winning this race,
anyways,
so
he still won.
So, hindsight, does this all really matter? Not really, because Ryan Blaney still ended up winning, which I'm glad that happened. But I do want to give my brief opinion on the caution call and the, controversy with the whole window net. So, I want to quickly give my 2 thoughts on those. I'll let you talk about how bad the race and the track were. That's not important for me. What's important was how they handled this situation. But anyways, so first of all, the caution coming out, I you know, they interviewed the NASCAR person, and he said that they prematurely threw it. I'm not, I can't see if the official looked up and just saw the car on the wall and hit the button, or if he looked and saw Ryan Blaney and he's like, nah, I'm just going to hit this caution because we want to have another restart to make things interesting. I don't know. Either way, I think it was a bad call because Ricky Stenhouse Jr. was, yeah, he was in the wall in the backstretch, but he got out of the way and he was running like last place anyways, and the leader was right about to take the checkered flag. So, in my mind, I have no idea why NASCAR threw that caution. Maybe it's just some miscommunication. Maybe some people were watching Stenhouse, some were watching Blaney, and they just didn't connect the dots there. I have no idea, but that was an absolutely terrible caution call on NASCAR's part. They need to look that over and review it and hopefully learn from it. As for the whole window net controversy with Ryan Blaney, Denny Hamlin was clearly frustrated after the race, saying that Ryan Blaney should have been black flagged for having the window net the way it was, because on the track when he got it quote unquote fixed, it was not, the right way for it to be in place. So, from Denny Hamlin's point, I can understand because, it's not safe. Like, you need to have that window net fully secure in order to have a race car, and, some type of debris could always fly through the car and all that kind of stuff. So, I understand where Denny Hamlin's coming from. They should have handled it. I don't think they should have black flagged him. They should have brought him down pit road and allowed the team to fix it and get him back out there and let him regain his position. After all, this is an all-star race, an exhibition race. These drivers are racing for $1 million, though. So, you don't want, NASCAR made a mistake in throwing the caution. So I think they should have repaid the favor to Ryan Blaney and allowed him to pit and fix the window net. They threw that rule in there about the caution, the race having to finish under green. So I think they bent a rule back in 2001 when it rained, and they allowed drivers to get backup cars and bring them out on the racetrack. We all know how that ended. Jeff Gordon won the race with a backup car, and they might have done some stuff to that backup car, but besides the point. NASCAR made a rule, they made some exceptions. So I think this is an exception NASCAR should have made to allow Ryan Blaney to come down pit road, fix that window net, get him back out there so he could still be in contention for the race, because it was a miscommunication on NASCAR's part. I think they should have let it slide. But hindsight, like I said, does this all really matter? Not really. Ryan Blaney still won the race. He deserved to win it, in my opinion. Great for him. I'll quickly transition into the actual race, the race product itself. I don't think I've ever heard Kyle Larson complain before, ever, about having to pass or a track or anything like that. But when Kyle Larson had his interview in the Infield Care Center, he said it was hard to pass, and he looked, I won't say mad, but frustrated with how it was working out. So when I see Kyle Larson say it's hard to pass, then I know it was not a great racing product. And everybody's saying get the dynamite out, blow up Texas Motor Speedway. I'll leave my opinions on that out, but yeah, Texas is not the place to host an all-star race. I really hope that they change that venue next year to anywhere but Texas, honestly, or maybe Phoenix too. Anywhere besides those two racetracks, or Richmond, I guess. But pick a different track, please, NASCAR. That's all I'm gonna say. Matthew, go ahead and take it away. You can talk about whatever you want regarding the all-star race. So go ahead and tell everybody what's on your mind.
Well, where do I start? I don't even know where to start, to be honest. This race was an absolute disaster. There's no other way of saying it. It was an absolute disaster. It was that big of a disaster that the people who work at the track didn't even bother staying at the track. We had enough of this dumpster fire. We're not cleaning up this place. We're getting on out of here. We're just going to leave it how it is. That was how bad this race was. I was being carefully optimistic going into this weekend with this next gen car. I mean, with all the great racing we see in the mile and a half this year, I was like, maybe, just maybe, it could fix Texas. But at the same time, it's Texas Motor Speedway. The track is pretty much dead. They just haven't confirmed that it's dead. They're just basically putting that thing on. They're still keeping that track on life support. So yeah, but unfortunately, it was terrible. It was an absolute disaster. I mean, pretty much it was the 550 package all over again. Not just for this race, but all three races this weekend for Trucks, Xfinity, and Cup. It just felt like a 550 package race. That's pretty much what this track was designed for. Is the 550 package that we had the past couple years. That's what this track was really designed for. And yeah, we got terrible flashbacks of that package this weekend because once you're the leader, you're pretty much good to go for the rest of the race. And Kyle Busch was that way until we all know what happened because we all know Goodyear because they've exited out of Formula One, they exited out of IndyCar, they exited out of the World Outlaws, and there's a reason for that because Goodyear just can't build a tire that's worth a crap. So that's just how it is. And I'm sure we're going to get used to that this coming weekend. 600 miles. I was parking with like 20 cautions because Goodyear just can't build a good tire at all. But that's besides that. I mean, we gotta get rid of this track on the schedule. I mean, there's no easy way around it. I know because we got a bunch of fools that run this track, and the people who work in the organization that own this track. They are a literal bunch of fools because I heard some before we did this video tonight. I'm glad we waited to do this tonight because I was able to see this from Jeff Glugg. The guy, I think it's Marty Smith. Wait, who owns SMI? It's some Smith.
I have no idea.
It's not Marty Smith. I'm sure. Whoever his name is. He basically.
I'll find the name and put it in here. But anyways,
like he put out a quote today, basically a reaction to everyone not happy with the race this weekend, and he's like, "Oh, they're just people from the internet crying about everything." I'm like, how delusional are you? I mean, how in the world are you going to protect this horrible race, this horrible excuse of an all-star event? That makes NBA All-Star games, that makes Pro Bowl games like the best games we ever seen in our lives, basically. And they don't even try these games. NASCAR All-Star races, they try. And yet, this is an absolute joke, basically. So, I mean, we gotta get rid of Texas Motor Speedway off the schedule as fast as we can. I don't care if NASCAR has to spend like $1 billion trying to acquire that track. You better get this track off the schedule like ASAP, please. And whoever puts, I don't care what track goes in that spot. Anywhere but Texas, please. And the fact that we got a 500-mile race in the playoffs later on this year is an absolute nightmare. I'm not even looking forward to that race because I know whoever gets on the pole that race, they're going to win that race. I mean, it's basically going to be like a typical F1 race, basically. Whoever's on the pole is the winner, for the most part. Or whoever's on the front row is going to win. So, yeah. If people were watching the All-Star review video last year, I had to do a rant for that one, too. Now we got to do this 2 years in a row, unfortunately, because that's just how it is. We're in Texas Motor Speedway doing this horrible excuse of an all-star race. And I mean, I think this race is still a disaster, but last year's was still kind of worse to me because it's still the 550 package. It had the worst all-star format of all time last year, which I don't even know what happened in that race. There was just so much stuff going on. I don't even know what the format was. That was that bad. So I think last year's was still worse, but this is a disaster. And I think this race basically just killed the All-Star race for NASCAR. Until we get this track off the schedule, until we get the All-Star race away from this track, the All-Star race is basically dead. I mean, they're going to still run it, but in my opinion, I think it's just dead at this point. Don't. It's just going to be a waste of time, and you might as well count the Clash now as the All-Star event, because clearly they don't put a bunch of stupid formats in the Clash. It's simple, and especially with it being the Coliseum this year, it was something new and daring, and it worked. So, I mean, they might as well just call the Clash the All-Star race. So, that's all I'm going to say. I think Jimmy said enough about the last lap deal, and so I don't need to waste more time about that. But, yep, what an absolute disaster. I can't wait to one day be a part of the demolition team that tears down that racetrack. I'm going to fill up with water so it turns to a 1.5-mile fishing pond, basically, so I can fish out there. That'd be a good use for it.
Yeah, I like how we tag teamed it. Like I handled the final few laps in that incident, and you handled the racing product of Texas. I like how we tag teamed that. So, yeah, I'm not gonna go over the results because nobody cares who finished second. Like I don't even remember who finished second. It's the All-Star race, so we all know Ryan Blaney won the All-Star race. Yeah, Ryan Blaney won. That's all we need to know about this. So we're just gonna hop straight into our ratings. I think we could both agree that this was a very easily the worst race of 2022. The racing product a little bit better than last year. Like you could kind of pass this year, which was good. Last year you could barely pass at all, but I mean this year with the tires and the whole controversy with Ryan Blaney, like that just dragged the race on and everything. So I'm gonna give it, man, I don't know. I'm gonna give it like a 3. I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 10. Like it was bad. I don't even really know what positives to take out of this race, honestly, but I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 10. It was an absolute disaster. Hopefully they change the venue next year. I would, I think you've mentioned this too before in the past. I would love to see different tracks have it each year. Rotate it around. Take it to Daytona one year. Take it to Martinsville one year. Take it to Charlotte one year. All that stuff. But I don't know. Hopefully NASCAR will listen to that. I don't know if they will or not. Hopefully. But, for short-term sake, just get it away from Texas. Anyways, I'm done. Matthew, what are you going to rate the race?
So, I just remember the guy that owns SMI's Marcus Smith. So, I remember the name, but he's still an absolute clown for defending this race. This absolute disaster. And guess what? I'm giving it a 1. There's nothing good about this race. Nothing good happened. Everything that went wrong this race. I mean, we almost had a car flip over. We almost had someone basically running the final laps with no window net. No one can pass. If you're the leader, you're basically a winner. And Goodyear once again stinks it up with the tires. And it's because Texas Motor Speedway has killed that track the moment they reconfigure it, the moment they put that PJ1 crap on there. And over time, they just continue to dig themselves to a deeper hole with this track every race that comes by. And, yep, I'm giving it a 1. And I was being generous. I could give it a 0 if I wanted to. So I'm being kind of generous here. But, yep. I'm never. I mean, that's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, I don't even think there's anything else we need to say. In this video, like we don't need to do closing thoughts or anything. We've
thoughts, actually.
Oh, okay, all right. Go ahead and share your closing thoughts.
I feel bad for all those fans that went to that race. I knew that was probably the most filled we've seen, with the most people that come to a Texas race in a long time. And I mean, they basically were robbed what they saw. I mean, those fans deserve better, man. They deserve better. I mean, the best fans and the best NASCAR fans in Texas had to watch this trash, basically. And I mean, I know there was a Dallas Mavericks playoff game happening that same night. I would just told everyone, hey, just go to that game instead. You're gonna get a better show than this trash. So, yep. I got nothing. I never going. I might as well just not go to this track. I mean, I'm trying to go to every track on the schedule. I'm not going to that track because I know soon that thing's gonna be gone. I just know it. Because I know NASCAR, they're going to try to get this track off the schedule. I know they don't own the track, and that's going to make things tough. But they're going. I have faith that they're going to do their best to try to get this track off the schedule. I mean, this is basically the big sacrifice to have Circuit of the Americas on the schedule, and Circuit of the Americas is worth it on the schedule. So. That's at least one positive out of all of this dumpster fire here.
Yeah, I mean, like like the pre-race show, the infield it was pretty packed. Like there were a lot of people in the infield for the pre-race concert, driver intros, all that stuff. I didn't really get a good look at the stands during the race. I didn't really look, but I mean, the pre-race stuff, it looked like there were a decent amount of fans in there, which is pretty cool. But also unfortunate that they were, treated with that type of race, that unfortunate circumstance. I mean, I guess they got a big crash out of it, which is cool, but also, unfortunate at the same time. But, yeah, that's all I'm really going to say about this All-Star race. Let us know in the comments what you think of this race, what you think the thing that went wrong the most, I guess. Like, let us know what you think was the worst thing that happened. I don't know. Anyways, that's going to go ahead and wrap it up for this video. We hope you all enjoy it. The Coke 600 is next week. We will come out with our predictions video for that later this week. So make sure you have that little bell pressed so you are notified every time we upload. But until next time, we'll see you guys in our next video.